All right. So if this is mapping the money, I kind of was thinking might be like a pirate movie or something. You know, X marks the spot. Somebody's got the parchment paper here. I'm not sure with the X, and I'm not going to do a Johnny Depp impersonation, but you know, it might be Pirates of the Caribbean 4, Curse of the Dying Demographic, or something like that. I'm not sure exactly. But we're all in our own way trying to figure out how to transform our organizations in a time of great change. And that's true of commercial organizations as well as non-commercial broadcasters and media organizations. And while it's I think a continuing struggle for public media, non-commercial media, I think it's a total freak out for the commercial sector, right? I mean, for years they've been sort of at war with their audience. Maybe they've got a truce now. Maybe I think they have actually. They've adjusted in some ways much more to their environment than non-commercial. And I'd like to talk about that a little bit. You know, a lot of people have talked about the Radiohead experience, the Radiohead experiment within the last year. It's in your article. I think it's a really interesting one. Well, it's the notion that Radiohead would put its music out, allow its listeners to download it for free, pay what you will, pay something. You could pay zero, that would be your choice, or you could pay something. And apparently 40% chose to, well, I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever the figure was. Somebody said 40%, but I don't know. In any case, they experiment with that. I think we've heard that Nine Inch Nail has experimented with that. And it's regarded as a revolution in the commercial media industry, in the music industry, that you'd give it away and trust somebody. Well, it's called a business model in public media. You know, that's what you've been doing. Public radio has been doing that for, I don't know, decades, you know, as long as it's existed, something like that. So we're familiar with that. And while, you know, we have the new SRG data just out, fresh off the press, that shows that for the first time in inflation-adjusted dollars, the take of individual donations is just off slightly. It's still $280 million a year, which is a substantial amount of money coming into on a complete honor system. You don't have to pay anything, but your audience does. So I think it's really important to see. You know, you could look at that data, and Tom Thomas is here from SRG, and say, you know, it's a glass half empty or a glass half full. But if you're at Universal or Warner Music, you don't know if there's anything in that glass at all. And, you know, so it's in some ways more challenging to the commercial sector. And yet I think in some ways they've adapted more dramatically than public media. We have the examples of Radiohead, for example, but you know, more than that, just all the media, the recording companies are putting their content out. I mean, if you go to MySpace, you could pretty much hear whatever you want. You could hear streaming copies of songs, full songs, you know, most of the album of an artist. You could hear a lot of stuff for free. How different is that from 5 or 6 years ago when they were suing Napster, they were suing, you know, the college student, they were suing the college student's mother who didn't even know her computer was being used for that purpose of downloading content. And I think there's been some change there in terms of their orientation against their audience. And so, you know, at the same time, just on this one example, one more thought is, a lot of people will say, great for Radiohead, but what if you're a breaking band or an individual, or if you're not one of the major market superstars, then how do you break in? And just another example from the commercial sector is there's an artist, Colby Calais. 18 months ago, she was working in a tanning salon in Santa Monica or something like that. Now, I'm sure that's a good living, but now, after she had 10 million downloads of her music on MySpace, after she had 10 million downloads, then she got a recording contract with Universal. And then she sold 2 million records. And then now she's out on tour with John Mayer, John Mayer in one of the biggest tours this summer, and she really broke through in 18 months, but it's a completely different entry point to the marketplace. And equally different is just the general notion of how you sell music in that industry. It used to be an artist would record an album, go out on tour to promote the record, to sell the record. Now you sell the record as a promotion. You put the record out as a promotion for your tour where you really make the money. So all of that is to say, what are we doing in public media to how dramatically are we willing to attack our own business models and say, is that really the right relationship? So just one thought along these lines, and then maybe hopefully we'll open it up for dialogue afterwards too. But the subscription model for public radio listeners, for public television listeners, we're hoping to get $50 a year, $100 a year, $120, $10 a month, $120 a year. That is pretty rigid. And where is the iTunes 99-cent per experience price point for public media? How do we give them, if anybody's listening to those podcasts, Jake, do we give them an opportunity to click 99 cents somewhere? Is there a PayPal click? Is there some micropayment? And I think we really need to adjust, certainly as we're hoping to bring in new audiences with new formats, et cetera. We better give them a pricing model that makes sense to them. Because we just say, wasn't that a great song? Wouldn't it be great if you gave us $120? They would say, what are you smoking? They're not going to respond to that. So just my final thought on that is a lot of people have said, we've tried asking people for money online. It doesn't work. Well, it's early. It's very early. And if you look at just the way things have changed in, say, 4 years, from 2004 to 2008, in the electoral system, Howard Dean broke through, just scratched the surface, and now the Obama campaign, with its 1.5 million donors, over $100 million in giving. Equally, in the charitable sector, there's a group called Network for Good. In 2004, they took in $17 million in donations. In 2007, they took in $53 million. So if you are assiduous in going for it, you can actually get returns through that medium. Thank you.